I've been hearing stories throughout the pandemic period that many people sort of fled bigger cities to move to rural areas, particularly places where they had vacation homes. And I wanted to put some numbers into it. Not only how many people have been doing this, but what did this mean for these counties as a whole? What did it mean that many places that have been declining for decades on end were finally seeing population growth for the first time? So I was curious to see what this meant at scale, beyond anecdotes, but what were we actually seeing in the data? So first I wanted to get a sense of just how extensive and how steep population decline had been in the Midwest prior to the pandemic. So I went into the census data and just did a very simple comparison of calculating the percent difference, the percent change in population from 2010 to 2019. And then I compared that to the population change from 2019 to 2022, which is the latest, most extensive information on county level population change. And it was true that many of the places that had seen population decline throughout 2010s didn't experience growth throughout the pandemic period. And this growth was concentrated in places that were particularly popular with vacationers. In fact, the larger the share of this county's housing stock was set aside for seasonal usage or recreational usage, the stronger the population gains that they experienced over the pandemic period. So concretely, this means places sort of along Lake Michigan, on both the Wisconsin and Michigan side of the lake, as well as places sort of in the far north woods of Wisconsin, Minnesota, Michigan's Upper Peninsula, as well as some smaller counties popular with vacationers sort of throughout the greater Midwest. While this influx of remote workers undoubtedly benefits the rural communities that was receiving them, it also creates challenges on the housing front, both for the new arrivals, who may be pricing each other out of like valuable lakeside or rental properties, as well as for the longtime residents who might find themselves sort of squeezed by the sharply rising housing prices. So Traverse City hit upon one helpful policy solution for dealing with needing to provide workforce housing, particularly for its seasonal workers. And they created a program called PILOT, which stands for Payment in Lieu of Taxes. And how this works is that instead of paying property taxes, developers focus on workforce housing, for qualifying workforce housing, would simply need to pay 10% of their net rental income to the city. So this represents a substantial saving for developers relative to what they would have to pay in local property tax, particularly since this housing was sort of near the city center or otherwise valuable parcels of land, and is regarded locally as a qualified success. But the other sort of big policy implication is that places that have been seeing population decline for decades and decades can attract newcomers, again, if there's a focus on creating amenities that are attractive to the new residents and the longtime residents alike.